Justification of the reasons why there only are fighting for the peaceful. Future with the current dictators and currency, manipulation of them regardless of wrong for their expression for their rights, and let to be proved that for the provoking and protective for the bearing arms and harm for the love and not knowing how you actually feel. Or for the victims and those loved ones that are waking up in the morning from past that repeats itself without waking up the scene again for the herd for the same place at the same different time without schedule, for the be told later for the owner to sooner for the dark is lunar from the rise to the perspective of higher highs, lows and tides to recede, massively trying to rain and life into the shower, hope of longevity to prepare their drought. Harvest with the nutrients necessarily was one to depend upon that diet, depending upon the weather for the survival skill to be placed upon the scale. Wait, time won't spoil that secrets that fish upon too much consumption of your mercury keeps you retro. Renovated for the most host that for the total part. As parts of those against the metropolitan areas have they graded for the grind. Determination that confines stand you united for the senses of distinction to ego and lies, proteins and food charts, and that's not good way. They revise for the proof eaten by the agro corporations, they say. These sodas that are spent to live and barely making the wages of the wedge of the tight crack filled with the neighborhoods of the hood niggas who can't get away for the downfall of the currents. Rivers going south. Enslaved mentality for the institutions to rap bars without the genres to the flag and the culture for the solidarity of the self be the solder like a welded part together but it still stands strong like steel seals. Confidence in your product for the not to be wrong when mislabeled for misled. To that pen with no paper to write on it was a fitting and a fist in the air, for it was used after the tippers were flaring. There's the music playing loud enough stereotypes and you can know those fights. Always have something to say less to how to feel to dumb and numb and you are behind that chest and treasure to find yourself off the map, but we gel, coordinate, define. Coordinates and by the starlight by the dark skin, segregation to saturated melanin. Who's rather with the melancholy for the bin and holds it since I came out of one, looking for the sea level to fill and walk tall. That world of stories of giants. Played on Broadway with the South if it's free, we change it for the donation for the film that just wiped away from these eyes to remember the glasses to give the amnesty. Vision and forefathers for sight. Fiction and forgive them anyways by any means, by I mean for the meaning ways of the misleading for the tour guides to be the entertained for the train to enter to be tamed, tamper, periods, house or pads, bled until you were faint enough for the lower class and getting high with painting, panting feelings on the walks, naming the territory to giving security, terror alleys and gridlocks, shortcuts when we were always hippie that had a long hair, hip style and a technique that's worn in sleeves like ornaments for the trees and a reasonably priced seasons, participate in our artificial beliefs, moist stretch lips to find the balance or limbo for the understanding the barbers raised and bend your back to accommodate what you wanted to accomplish, compiling complimentary for the hope for the feelings to be raised and enlisted for the eligibility for the foster care knowledge, but for the children for how they are affected for the have felt effects and they will felt eventually. Time and events to the architectural timeline with the quotas and outlines, time frame for the memory and the server, for the over within the wall for the hanging on the calendar for the digital world to be blind and numbers and don't lie, no schedules or face to fact. We're assembled in the factories and below the face value for the bargain. A shop that passes barricades and sells and sales. And no, they aren't the same to price. Then when you find them on the store for the discount for the generous days, you're all the behind sell for the price that you don't want to receive the smile. You can receive that for the gift of the receptionist. I can't believe you. Rare version of time for the broke out for the heart. Broke the heart for the already rich and half the grand opening somewhere with a different cost for the competitor to can't. Buying it fast enough for this receive that moral integral business and this is a jurisdiction for the thirsty paydays and hungry nights and metalheads and metal hearts for those who can't be trained to penetrate but the swipe that stab and your conviction and convincing comment. Committed to the community. Commentary for the those be the death words and tombs on cemeteries and periodically need to find this table. I was trying to say artifacts, not artifacts. Getting the details close enough to get it pounded down and go to the treatment for the capital steps and stays the mind over the mind amount of the facts and this is line of the matter as much as they used to when they're looking over the word for the truth and the artifacts. Should have been taking credit for. But how do you be taking credit for that? You couldn't help yourself for the trial. You could be the sentence enough for the try again for the ones who become expecting for the different outcomes of their income to become the down to the repetitive wages and wedge between the heart for the heart place and the hurt. They're facing it out the stare for the delusion and maybe she can send it for the experience and expectations they need to fool the once again. I find that for the last time. Hard for the hurt, defense is bearing arms. High behind the back for the effort to the fronts. Hard to bear for the ease and experience after the felt when it's not true. Victimized for the fear for the grief, like the directions of the reason. Talking for the what's left to lose and what's lost and not rightfully denied. Maybe should have the production with the sleep within the trust support foundation. Seen phone counter down office without water for stability. But you are able to know that you even be able to stable. Instead of seeing the state, those statements from there to the verb to describe that light you never word for the action seen and blind. Silent preference preferably leave with it. It could be excuse again for this to be the X and Y questions. And something you can see in the future, but you can't see yourself repeating the past now. I know the past and the advertisements and add-ons. Liminal care. You'll help you believe in your willing position to position positive enough to closer to doubt for the telephone posts and social sites and non-secrets and united systems. As you walk into the walls and halls of hollow trust accounts, or the hope into the table of the contents and finding out with the contestant for the lessons of the consequences. You purchase your returns and shelves and asking them not to be labeled. Still be the seller out of stock like the inmate with the corn no made for the match. You got to burn that book from releasing the need to burn. Another opportunity to find imposing drives promises for the Indian account for the ability to add yourself. Another consumer for the leisure to touch up. Another accountability for the no savings and orphan draft. Still forgiven enough for the 5-star rating. Thanks to the executive with the unaware for the no thought. Should be let that out of the practice of awareness and being surprised by what you're aware. Could have fit in the mirror and one of the broken glass. The mirror and the common ground that you had the power to walk away from the different day to the generous and made a thoughtful sin. Without a smile, the sun without a shine, warm your heart from the body for the temperature to because you difference is a kind of not so temporary for having the perfect crosshairs, condition and left in the bounce in the room. Should have expected up for the kite day, such as that for no drive in the park. Never see no occupation to occupy that for the tennis rights or wrongs and express that for the compressor so much of money to shout out to the hopes and running science or logic. Didn't teach but like to learn from you can remember that but if you're told in vain you eat yourself out of the involved with the outcome and come in another in and out from the squatting where you eat. Break before you appearing hungry for the change. What's needed just to steal my beliefs right in front of me for the walking away for have that back for the times of vulnerability for the news. It could be the old newspaper for the proposition that probably provided for the proof of progress in your producing production for progress. Pronouncing support, supplements and sustain. Your love for the liking of food for supper, a thought. Understanding of why you enjoy being full. This is the bad taste in your mouth to pride and floss and the bites the word of work. Fork two, that's too much to chew for the between that space and next meal for the winning. Anxiety for the bottle sobs and now for the carbonated sobriety. Make your own little drinking game where you still the base with no conscious and slightly do regret. Find your way home again. Although there was only and there is an adding a subtraction for the only the zip code for the body but the language and translated into sexual behavior called serious and doubt. Orientation to comments without the commitment for the communication. These devices are essential for the elements and they periodically bring that to the table for the contents. Silently auction to highest bids and dirty bid jobs. That's who can bend the unwanted desires. Find self inside of you for the manage to business for the vision to only know that your limitation is closer to be so proceed for the only closer to the illusion in the hearts and find the details and getting dizzy enough for the chasing of inedible. Realities and lessons in class, self-awareness and those self-educated for the beauty of a unified system with a system of gender for the subliminal crimes and talk behind your back. I put in the corner for timeout. Sentences and capital punishment meant to ponder less for the bound. For the talent and to find the depth of the golden retriever for the capitalist depths and find a state of behind the mind and find a matter of facts. Don't matter as much as they used to when they take a look at the word truth or artifacts. Not artifacts, but hard effects who told you worth that, but they're going up to end up and nothing down to find where you ended up in the direction of the arts and craft of art. couldn't help yourself for the trial, for the beat sentence enough for the try again, for the ones who become expecting for the different outcomes of your income to become the down for the repetitive wages and wedge between the heart for the hard place of the hurt. Her face and the down to stare for the delusion, the memories of insanity for the experience and expectations to make fool. Once again, I find that for the last time. No harm for the hurt, defense, bearing arms, tie behind their backs for the effort for the fronts, hard to bear for the even, experience that for the felt when it's not true, and victimized for the fear for the greed, like the directions is the reason why you keep talking with what's left to lose and what's lost in life, but rightfully denied. Thought you should have known that there's no production with the sink with no trust support foundation, sink on countertops, offers without water for stability for the UEA, but know for that to even be able to stable. Instead of seem to state those staplers in there to the verb to describe that action of a word for the action seen in blind. Cited preference preferably for the it could be excused again for this to be the X and Y questions and chromosome for you can see me in the future but you can't see yourself repeating the past now. I know the past and never mind, your advertisements and add-ons. Subliminal care. Takers and willful, you'll help to believe in your well in position to position positive enough for the post of the doubt for the telephone posts and social sites and non-seekers to be denied assistance. That doesn't walk into the malls and halls of hollow trust accounts and pour the hope into the table of the contents and finding out what the contestant for the lessons and the consequences. Or repurchase your returns and shelves and asking them not to be labeled. Still be the seller out of stock like an inmate with a corn no made for the match that to burn that book when there's a release of the need to burn with another opportunity to find opposing drives and promises for the any account for the ability for the add yourself with another consumer for the less of the subtracting that and accountability for the no savings in your overage drives. Understood forgiven enough for the 8-5-star rating. Memory banks to the executive with the unaware for the no thought. Being sure to be let that for the out of the practicing awareness and being surprised by what you're wearing. Looking to fill in the mirror to under the broken glass of the familiar uncommon grounded that you have the power to walk away for the given day for the generous and weighted thoughtful sin. Without a smile, the sun without a shine to warm your heart for the body for the temperature to because your difference is the climate not so temporary for having your perfect the crosshairs conditioned and left in the bounce in the wind. Should have expected that for the kite day, such that for no drive for the park, redundancy with no occupants in the occupy, that for the tenants' rights or wrongs, and express that for the compressor, so much of money to be shattered for the hopes and run science or logic. Didn't teach but life to learn for that you can remember that for the being told in vain and eat yourself out of the involved with the outcomes and coming in and out for the in and outs and sweating where you eat. Break before you appearing hungry for the change. What's needed just to steal my beliefs right in front of me for the walking away for have that back for the times of vulnerability for the news. It could be the old newspaper for the proposition to probably provided for the proof of progress and you're producing production for progress. Pronouncing support, supplements to sustain your love for the like and your food for supper or thought. Understanding of why you enjoy being full. This is the bad taste in your mouth, the pride, the floss, and the bites, the word, the fork. Fork 2, that's too much to chew for the between that space and next meal for the winning. Anxiety for the bottle sobs and that for the carbonated sobriety. Make your own little drinking game where you steal the basement with no conscience and slide into regret. Find your way home again. Although there was only in there is no side and subtraction for the only zip code for the body but the language and translate it into sexual behavior called serious and doubt. Orientation, the comments without the commitment for the communication. These devices are essential for the elements and periodically bring that to the table for the content. Silently auction to highest bids and dirty bid jobs. And this is who can bend to unwanted desires. Find self inside of you for the manage the business for the vision to only know that your limitation is closer to be so proceed for the only closer to the illusion in the hearts and find the details and getting dizzy enough for the chasing of inedible realities and lessons in class. Your self-awareness and those who self-educated for the beauty of a unified system with a system of agenda for the subliminal crimes and taught behind your back. Put in the corner for timeout. Sentences and capital punishment meant to ponder less for the boundary for the doubt and doubt for the find the depth of the go to retrieve for the capitalist depths and find a state of behind the mind find the matter of the facts. Don't matter as much as they used to when they took a look at the word truth and artifacts. Not artifacts, but hard effects and told you were that, but they're going up to end up and down to find where you ended up in the direction of the hearts and craft of art.
I was trying to say artifacts, not artifacts. Get into details close enough to get a pound of dap or go to retrieve it for the capitalist depths and states the mind over the mind of matter, the facts and this the mind of the matter as much as they used to when they're looking over the word for the truth and the artifacts. See, I told us and this we were we are for we are going to end up there, not go down for the where we ended up for the direction of the hearts to the craft of that for the art for the disability selves and harsh critics. We have also passion to create that masterpiece of which came off that mastermind for the blast of your orbit over the environments to create that bliss, comfort of the pleasure, self-inflicted pain. What was told to the getting included for the obligated for the be departed for the self and installation for the needed to fit your maturity and age. Numbers to calculate for the attention span duration to find the pleasure for the neglect that imagination to imagine what you can be behind to find the truth to inherit the falsehood. Upscale your towns for a thousand, just adjacent for you to never be the inner story of the house. On the hillside drive for the Park Avenue for the richer revenue, for the rejuvenate, for the death to pour to eat, the data to distribute, for the organic lies to the store. Which bread gets the bro for the comfort, that for the croutons and crochet leftovers to yarn. Earnings and earn out the blessings to be generated for the generations of generous generous and the gentlemen for the that act hard with the genetic inheritance, enriching the poor judgments and course and anchor for the stagnation, the standards and walk through for the good behavior, the army for the recruiters in front line of the war. Justification, the reasons why there only are fighting for the peaceful. Future with the current dictators and currency, manipulation of them regardless of wrong, for their expression for their rights, and let to be proved that for the provoking, the protected for the bearing arms, or harm for the love, for not knowing how you actually feel. Or for the victims and those loved ones that are waking up in the morning for past that repeats itself without waking up and steam again, for the hurt for the same place at the same different time without a schedule, for the be told later for the owner, the sooner for the dark is lunar from the rise to the perspective of higher and highs, the lows and tides to recede. Magically turn a random life into the shower, hope with longevity to prepare their drop. Harvest with the nutrients necessarily, but want to depend upon that diet, for depending upon the weather for the survival skill to be placed with a scale. Or wait, time won't spoil that secrets that fish upon too much consumption of your mercury keeps your retro. Renovated for the most host that's for the total part, as the parts of those dense and metropolitan areas to have that greater for the grind. Determination that confines stand you united for the senses of distinction to ego for lies, proteins and proof charts, and that's not the way. They revise for the proof eaten by the agro corporations, they say. They sold us that expensive lie when barely making the wages through the wedge of the tight crack filled with the neighborhoods of the hood niggas who can't get away for the downfall of the currents. Rivers going south. Enslaved mentality for the institutions and rap bars without the genres to the flag of the culture for the solidarity of the self be the solder of like a welded part together but it still stands strong like steel seals. Confidence in your product for the not to be wrong when mislabeled for misled. To that pen with no paper to write on, able to fitting your fist in the air. For it was used after the tippers were flaring. And there's the music playing loud enough stereotypes and you can know those types. Always have something to say less to how the field of dumb and numb New York behind that chest of treasure to find yourself off the map. And we gel, coordinate, divine. Coordinates and by the starlight, by the dark skin. Segregation, the saturated melanin. Who's rhythm with the melancholy for the bin and holds since I came out of one looking for the sea level to fill and walk tall. The world of stories of giants. Played on Broadway with the South and love it's free, no change for the donation for the fam that just wiped away from these eyes to remember the glasses to give the amnesty. Vision and forefathers for sight. Fiction and forgive them anyways by any means. By I mean for the meaning and ways of the misleading for the tour guides to be the entertained for the train to enter to be tamed. Tamper, periods, house or pads, bled until you were faint enough for the lower class and getting high with painting, panting feelings on the walks, naming the territory to giving security, terror alleys and gridlocks, shortcuts when we were always hippie that had a long hair, hips the style, then the technique that's worn in sleeves like ornaments for the trees and a reasonably priced. Seasons, participate in our artificial beliefs, moist stretched lips to find the balance or limbo for the understanding that bar was raised and bent your back to accommodate what you wanted to accomplish, compiling complimentary for the hope for the feelings to be raised and enlisted for the eligibility for the foster care, knowledgeable for the children for how they are affected for them ever felt effects and that will felt eventually. Time and events to the architectural timeline with the quotas and outlines, time frame for the memory and insert within the wall for the hang them on the calendar for the digital world to be violent numbers and don't lie no schedules or face to facts. We're assembled in the factories or below the face value for the bargain to shop that passing barricades and sales and sales. And though they aren't the same the price of them when you find them on the store for the discounted for the generous and days are the behind the sale for the price that you don't want to receive the smile. You can receive that for the gift of the receptionist that can't believe you. Their version of time for they broke out for the heart, broke the heart for the already rich and have the grand opening somewhere with a different cost for the competitor that can't pioneer fast enough for this to receive that moral integral business. And this is the jurisdiction for the thirsty paydays and hungry nights and metalheads and metal hearts for those who can't be trained or penetrated for the swipe that stab in your conviction and convincing comment. Committed to the commemorate commentary for the those be the death words and tombs on cemeteries and periodically you can find those tables. I was trying to say artifacts, not artifacts. Get into details close enough to get a pound or dap or go to retrieve it for the capitalist depths and states the mind over the mind of matter, the facts and this is the mind of the matter as much as they used to when they're looking over the word for the truth in the heart of facts. See, I told us and this we where we are for we are going to end up there and not go down for the where we ended up for the direction of the hearts to the craft of that for the art for the this to be themselves and harsh critics. We have also passion to create that masterpiece of which came off that mastermind for the blast of your orbital for the environments to create that bliss, comfort of pleasure, self-inflicted pain. What was told is that included for the obligated for the be departed for the self-installation for the needed to fit your maturity and age. Numbers to calculate for the attention span duration to find the pleasure for the neglect that imagination to imagine what you can be behind to find the truth to inherit the falsehood. Upscale your towns for the towns and just adjacent for you to never be the inner story of the house on the hillside drive for the Park Avenue for the richer revenue for the rejuvenate for the death to pour to eat the that to distribute for the organic lies to the store. Which bread gets the bro for the comfort that for the croutons and crochet leftovers to yarn. Earnings and earn out the blessings to be generated for the generations of generous genders and the gentlemen for the that act hard with the genetic inheritance, enriching the poor adjustments and course and anchor for the stagnation, the standards and walk through for the good behavior, the army for the recruiters in front line of the war. Justification, the reasons why there only are fighting for the peaceful. Future with the current dictators and currency, manipulation of them regardless of wrong, for their expression for their rights, and let to be proved that for the provoking, the protective, for the bearing arms, or harm for the love, for the not knowing how you actually feel. Or for the victims and those loved ones that are waking up in the morning when past that repeats itself without waking up the scene again, for the hurt for the same place at the same different time, but without a schedule, for the be told later, for the only the sooner, for the darkest lunar, from the rise to perspective of higher and highs and lows and tides to recede, magically turn the rain and life into the shower, hope and longevity to prepare their drought. Harvest with the nutrients necessarily, but want to depend upon that doubt, for depending upon the other for the survival skill to be placed with a scale. Or wait, time won't spoil that secrets that fish upon too much consumption of your mercury keeps your retro renovating for the most host that's for the total part, as the parts of those dense metropolitan areas to have that greater for the grind. Determination that can find stand you united for the senses of distinction to ego and lies, proteins and food charts, and that's not the way. Be revised for the proof eaten by the agro corporations, they say. They sold us that expensive lie when barely making the wages through the wedge of the tight crack filled with the neighborhoods of the hood niggas who can't get away from the downfall of the currents. Rivers going south. Enslaved mentality for the institutions and rap bars without the genres to the flag of the culture for the solidarity of the self be the solder of like a welded part together with it still stand strong like steel seals. Confidence in your product for the not to be wrong when mislabeled for misled. To that pen with no paper to write on, able to fitting your fist in the air, for it was used after the tippers were flaring, and there's the music playing loud enough stereotypes, and you can know those types. Always have something to say less to how the field of dumb and numb New York behind that chest of treasure to find yourself off the map, and we gel, coordinate, define. Coordinates and by the starlight, by the dark skin, segregation to saturated melanin. Who's rhythm with the melancholy for the bin and holds since I came out of one, looking for the sea level to fill and walk tall. The world of stories of giants. Played on Broadway with the South and of its free, no change for the donation for the film they just wiped away from these eyes to remember the glasses to give the amnesty, vision and forefathers for sight, fiction and forgive them anyways by any means, by I mean for the meaning and ways of the misleading for the tour guides to be the entertained for the train, to enter to be tamed, tampered, periods, house or pads, bled until you weren't faint enough for the lower class and getting high with panting feelings on the walks, naming the territory to giving security, terror alleys and gridlocks, shortcuts when we were always hippie that had a long hair, hips the style and the technique that's worn in sleeves like ornaments for the trees and a reasonably priced seasons, participate in our artificial beliefs. Moist stretched lips to find the balance or limbo for the understanding the bar was raised and bent your back to accommodate what you wanted to accomplish, compiling complimentary for the hope for the feelings to be raised and enlisted for the eligibility for the foster care, knowledgeable for the children for how they are affected for the ever felt effects and ever felt eventually. Time and events to the architectural timeline with the quotas and outlines, time frame for the memory insert or within the wall for the hang them on the calendar for the digital world to be violent.